Good morning. All right, today's going to be pocket tens. So we have early position player raises to 3.5 big blinds, and it folds around to me in the big blind. So we have 42 hands on him. He's playing 38-17. Looks to be loose. Big part of that, it seems to be the blinds, 4 out of 6, 3 out of 5. Cutoff maybe 3 out of 7. Button is only 1 out of 6, which seems unusual. But we don't know what the action was like when he was on the button. He's in early position. He's played 20%, so 1 out of 5. He's raised first in 1 out of 3 times. He's probably playing a little bit tighter early position than he is later position in the blind. So I kind of looked at maybe about 20% was probably max. So 20% range I think was max. And as I was adding hands, I said, you know what? In order to get to 20%, we're really adding a bunch of weaker cards. This is probably what range we're looking at. Maybe about a 17.5%. We could add into all of the pocket pairs, but I think that's a little bit unusual for a lot of people. Do have suited aces, do have the broadways. Maybe he has these offsuit broadways. It's hard to know, but I think this is probably a decent raise. Early position, raise first in. Does the 3.5 make a difference? That's a good question. We'll have to see. We'll take notes, and it's really the more times we see them raise and we see their hands, we can start to judge what their bet sizing means. So it's on me. This is my 3 better call range. So big blind versus early position players, 10s right here. I think suitable to call. I think Villain's probably playing a tighter range and more appropriate to GTO. I think we can make an argument for raising to apply pressure. To him, and if we should think about, what's our plan post flop. If Villain looks to be like a super aggressive player, if we just call, we're going to have to assume we're getting bet. We're going to be facing c-bets and barrels. If he's passive, I think we have a little bit more leeway, knowing that if he doesn't c-bet, then chances are he missed. So we could probably, take the hand with the bet. That keeps the pot small by not raising, and it allows us to play or pick up some pots that we probably wouldn't have had Villain kept the aggression on. So I think there's an argument for just calling, just to see what he'll do on the flop. Kind of gives us an idea of where we're at. But if he's betting all the time, then his c-bets really won't tell us where we're at, and we'll have to kind of get into a larger pot. But his effective stack is also a concern. It's not super large, so we're not going to be having a lot of implied odds there. It's going to be hard, or it's going to be easier for him to get all in on the flop or turn because stack sizes are low. If we raise, we can raise it up to like 12. I would expect him to bet, and then we're probably going to have to c-bet. So, we raise to 12, and then we're going to have to c-bet probably at least 12 big blinds again, half pot. So we're investing 24 big blinds. That's going to be, a third of a stack. And at that point, it's not, just not sure. So your stack to pot ratio would be almost 2, a little more than 2 to 1. Yeah, I'm not sure if it would necessarily be worth raising here and building a big pot, and then have to get all in with a single overcard on the board. So I think a call is okay, and that's what I did. Flop comes 9-6-6, so this is kind of the board that I was looking at or hoping for. Kind of discount 6s because there's only 2 left in the deck. It's going to be hard for him to have a 6. He could have a 9, but more than likely he missed. That's my guess. So I think what we have here is we're just going to check and let Villain bet, which he does. He leads out 5.6, which is actually a fairly large c-bet. his c-bet stat in position is 1 out of 2. He doesn't do it all the time, but I think on this board this is actually pretty good. He could possibly be doing it with his entire range here. Could be doing it with his entire range here, including those overs. We do have a vulnerable hand. We don't really want to see an overpair, but at the same time, I'm not sure if our hand is really strong enough for a check raise. I mean, if we think about, what other hands could we have to balance, let's say a 6. If we have, 6-5, what kind of draws do we have? Maybe 7-8, maybe an open ender, but that's it. I think we would check call if we had pocket 9s, pocket 6s. Let's see our range here. Let's see combos. Yeah, so 1 combo, quads, 3 combos of a full house. 6 of 3 of a kind. So we've got 10 combos, 3 of a kind or better. And then 4 for the open-ended straight draw. So yeah, okay. Maybe that can work. We balance. We could have open-ended straight draw, or we have just a monster hand. Check raise can work there. So let's do that. Let's say we're gonna raise those, and then overpair, top pair. I think we're calling with a gut shot. Let's get that going. Yeah, I still think there's a little too many hands here for 3 of a kind. I think I'm going to convert. Maybe a6. Yeah, there's 2, 5, 6. Actually, no. Actually, let's do this. Let's raise with a6. Then we check call 7, 6, and 5, 6. So I think we raise with the a6. Got a solid kicker. If an ace comes, it'll fill us up and likely gives villain 10 full house. I think having an ace kind of helps block the pocket aces. That if we see an ace, so be it. But I think just for combinations, I think this gets us closer so that we have 6 combos, 4 combos of the open ender. So what did I do? I check raised it. So I don't like this play with 10s. I understand it because we are vulnerable. And with the check raise, I'm not sure if I don't think I raised large enough. If I raised it up to 15, I think we needed to go to 20 and really apply the pressure because he's getting decent odds. He's getting almost 3-1 on his call. He could call and hope for an overcard, and if an overcard comes, we're going to be very uncomfortable continuing with our 10, and more than likely, we're going to have to get all in, just pot size based on stack ratio. So I'm not really sure if I like my check raise here. I think I should have called. So let's go through and we're going to keep what I said we were going to check raise with, just to kind of continue. So 14 combos total. Whoops. Let's get those off. So those aren't in our range, but we do have some really strong range. And I think there is some arguments for just like calling with quads or full house because we have a lot of the cards out there. And that's kind of why I was initially saying I think everything's just going to be a check call. So we're going to go with that. Villain c-bet, what is he going to call with? Pairs, overpair, top pair, pocket pair less than the top card, maybe pocket pair less than the board, open ender, I mean, that's all that I think I would see him calling with. He didn't just call, he shoved. And this is where it kind of gets interesting. I've got the overpair. What would he shove with? I do think he would shove with any of these overpairs. Probably, I'm going to say quads might just call. Same thing with a full house. Three of a kind could shove here. Overpair. I don't like open-ended straight draws shoving here, so I think we are looking at something like this. Maybe even top pair bets. But, I mean, that's pretty aggressive. 7 and 8, I think that's just being optimistic, to say the least. So maybe top pair, over pair. I think we're in a situation where it's like, oh, man, the top pair, 21%, we beat. But over pair, 70%. I think with this check raise, I did call because we went to the river. Again, I'm not sure if I like this call. And I think this is one of those reasons. I wouldn't mind if I had an open-ended straight draw. I mean, I get it in with it. We're on the draw because if we go back and look, we're getting 1.78 to 1. Actually, open-ender, we could easily fold that. And I hope I would look at that and say, you know, I'm not getting the odds to draw to that open-ended straight draw. But full house, trips, quads, those are all hands that I'd be happy to call with, versus compared to this hand where it's like, oh man, do I really call? And that's the issue I have with this hand, is that I did it with the overpair with jacks, with tens and jacks. You know, if I did it with tens and jacks and I'm put in this situation, I can't possibly be good. I can't assume that I'm good. It just doesn't. I don't think so. So I called, and I think the only hands that I call, or I should be calling with, will be three of a kind plus. I think that's it. So if I have three of a kind plus, and he's check raising with those kind of hands, yeah, I'm pretty big. Easy call. So we get to the river. It shows a 7, shows a 6. So we fill up. You know, 6 is full of 10s, and we actually run it out twice. So king, queen, and 7, 6. So I was hoping for a 10. Didn't get it. He shows 7, 9, which I guess that's okay. So 7, 9 wasn't in his range. That would have fallen in a top pair, but again, that play, I think it's wishful thinking. I do think top pair is a hand that could make that shove. I think they would get some people overplay that. Will overplay that, and I'm guilty of doing it at times. So if we add a few more, that's okay. But I think there's a heavy weighting towards overpair plus. And again, that's the problem that I had with my check raise, is I check raise with a hand that wasn't super strong, and when I face the raise by a player in position, it's now incredibly difficult for me to call. I did call and I won it, but I'm not sure if I should. So at this point, what we can do is take some notes, kind of mark down what he did. So raise first in 3.5 big blinds in I guess that's EP3 with 9-7 diamonds. He c-bet raised, c-bet raise all in on 9 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 6 of spades. I think that makes sense. All right. Hopefully you enjoy this hand. Again, I think calling pre-flop was fine, but I think my mistake was check raising. I don't think my hand was really strong enough to check raise, and I think we'd still get his stack because I think it goes. He bets. Let's go back to the flop. He c-bets. I call, which is what I should have done. Turns a 7. And hold on, let's go here. So he c-bet we'll say 6. I called 6, so that's 12, 19. So about 19 big blinds is in the pot. 7 comes out. He hits 2 pair now, 9s, 7s. He's going to think he's good. He's going to probably fire out like 16, 17 big blinds. 16, 17 big blinds. I think at this point I could check raise here. But definitely, calling. I think if I check raise, we'll be in kind of a similar situation where if he raises us, it's going to be hard for us to continue. I think we would have to, but it would be hard. It would be kind of real scary. So, check calling. And then on that 6, I think we can lead unless we think Villain's going to bet. If Villain's going to bet again, which he could because he's got 6s full of 9s, and in his mind, he's probably thinking, I've got, we're going to be splitting this pot because I have a 9. He's going to probably bet. We can call again. Although on a river, I think we could lead here, kind of give the impression that maybe we hit the flush, or maybe we had our straight and we're looking for some value. I think definitely if he has a 9, he's going to call. So we're getting money in. And I think today I would probably lead here on the river, and I'd probably lead, sizable bet, 2/3, 3/4 pot, and hope he calls. So hopefully you enjoy this, and if you do, look tomorrow for another one.